Name's Tom Reynolds. I spent 23 years on the road, 15 of those with Darrow Freight, once a proud family-run trucking outfit based out of Missouri. I wasn't just a driver. Over the years, I'd worked my way up to safety coordinator and then fleet supervisor for the Midwest routes. I wasn't sitting behind a desk sipping coffee all day. I was still out there. I'd walk the yard every morning at 5 a.m., boots on gravel, clipboard in hand, making sure every rig scheduled to leave was good to roll. I was the guy you called if your reefer unit started acting up in Ohio during a deep freeze, or if a rookie missed his shift change in Nebraska. I trained half the drivers we had on the road, taught them how to double-clutch smooth, keep logs clean, respect the DOT, and treat customers right. I took pride in that. This wasn't just a job to me, it was a craft, a brotherhood. My hands were in every piece of it, and yeah, I wasn't getting rich doing it, but it kept food on the table. My wife, Dana, stayed home to raise our 2 kids, Kelsey and Ben. Kelsey's a sophomore in college now, and I was trying to squirrel away enough to help keep her out of debt. I'd been driving nights and weekends through some brutal winters to stash what I could. That mattered to me. Darrow used to be a company where effort meant something. You'd bust your ass, and the brass knew your name. Hell, old man Darrow used to show up in the yard in his Sunday boots just to shake hands with the drivers before peak runs. He cared about people, not just profit. That kind of leadership trickles down. When the company ran lean, we didn't panic. We pulled together, fixed up older rigs, made longer hauls, skipped vacations when we had to. Loyalty mattered. Then came the buyout. Some big outfit out of Chicago called Nordhall Logistics swooped in with their polished brochures and corporate smiles, promised streamlined operations, enhanced growth strategies, and a modernized workforce. That's code for out with the old, in with the cheap. At first, we tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Change is part of life, right? But we all felt the ground shift the moment they brought in Darren Halbrook. Young guy, early 30s maybe, with a resume full of 3-letter acronyms and a wardrobe that probably cost more than my wife's car. He was named Regional VP of Operations, and from day one, he strutted in like he owned the place. Didn't even bother learning names. He referred to drivers as assets, talked about reducing labor redundancy like we were inventory sitting on a shelf too long. I remember the first all-hands meeting he held. No handshake, no thank you for keeping the company rolling through the pandemic. Just charts and metrics. Darren droned on about cost leakage and margin bottlenecks, waving his tablet around like it held the secrets to the universe. I looked around and saw confusion on the faces of guys who'd been driving longer than Darren had been alive. Then the cuts started. First, the extra pay for overnight hauls. Gone. Then maintenance schedules were optimized, which meant skip checks and overworked mechanics. Darren brought in his own team from another firm, kids straight out of business school who wouldn't know a torque wrench from a tire iron. I pulled him aside one afternoon, tried to explain why trimming too much was dangerous, told him how we lost a trailer door last winter because maintenance got delayed and the latch froze. No injuries, but it could have been bad. He smirked and said, "You worry too much, Tom. We have systems now, data-driven decisions. No offense, but we're moving away from old-school gut instincts." Old school, that's what he called it when I offered to train the newer hires, or when I brought up that we could rework the Kansas City routes to shave fuel costs. "Too soft," he said. "You coddle the drivers. They need accountability." What he meant was, they needed to shut up and follow orders. I didn't work that way. I believed in leading by example, in earning respect. Then, one cold Thursday morning in January, I got called into the office. It was short, almost surgical. Darren sat behind his glass desk with that tight-lipped smile. HR was there too, tapping away on her laptop like it was Just another task on her checklist. Tom, Darren said, we appreciate everything you've done, but due to restructuring, your position is being eliminated effective immediately. Just like that. No warning, no thank you, no offer to relocate. Just a folder slid across the table and a handshake so limp it might as well have been an insult. I asked, so what happens to the safety program? The driver audits? He shrugged. We're streamlining that. We've got software in place. Now, I nodded, didn't say much. My voice felt caught somewhere between disbelief and anger. I remember reaching for my thermos on the way out. I'd left it on the desk the night before. That felt like the last punch in the gut. No severance. My health benefits cut off within a month. Replaced by a guy half my age who'd been working. Dispatch at a call center last year. I trained drivers who trained better than him. I didn't go home right away. I drove out to the yard, sat in my pickup and watched the trucks pull out. A few drivers noticed me. One gave a little nod. Another texted me later, they're crazy for letting you go. Ain't right. He was right, it wasn't right. I had given that company everything. Missed birthdays, spent nights in a sleeper cab instead of my own bed. Hauled produce through snowstorms, took late-night calls from panicked drivers, showed up every damn day, and for what, a line on a spreadsheet. When I walked through the front gates for the last time, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But something inside me cracked, quietly, like steel under pressure. I went home, sat at the kitchen table with Dana, and told her everything. She held my hand, calm and steady, like she always did. Said we'd figure it out. We always did. But deep down, something was building. I wasn't out for revenge. Not yet. I was hurt, betrayed. But I still had my pride. I still had the skills, the network, the know-how, and more than anything, and I had the truth. I knew what they were gambling by cutting people like me. I knew where the weak points were, the corners Darren cut, the shortcuts that could and would. Cost them. They thought saving a few bucks was worth throwing me away. They had no idea what that was about to cost them. The first few days after I got fired, they're kind of a blur. You think you're prepared for something like that. Years of grit, ups and downs, winter runs through black ice, nights spent in a sleeper cab with a thermos of lukewarm coffee and the hum of highway lights. You think it toughens you, but nothing readies you for being tossed out like scrap. I didn't sleep much that first week. I'd sit at the kitchen table with my old route maps spread out in front of me, as if looking at them would somehow explain how I ended up here. My wife Maria tried to keep things normal, pancakes in the morning, asking me to fix a squeaky cabinet door, but I could see it in her eyes. She was scared. And the hardest part, telling my boy, Evan, he's 16, good kid, smart, a little stubborn, like his old man. We were saving up for trade school tuition. He's been talking about diesel tech since he was 10, fascinated with engines and torque specs. I sat him down one night after dinner, my hands wrapped around a coffee mug I didn't touch. I'm not at the company anymore, I said. He looked up from his phone. You quit? I shook my head. No, son, they let me go. Restructuring, they said. His jaw tightened. That's messed up. You ran half their fleet. I didn't answer, just nodded. I didn't want him to see how deep it cut. By day 4, the texts started coming in. Hey man, you heard what happened to Truck 42? That was from Jason, one of the newer drivers I'd helped train just last year. He still called me Cap, short for Captain, a nickname I never asked for, but didn't. Mind, apparently, the rookie they hired to take over my safety coordinator duties didn't catch that 42's brake inspection was overdue. She stalled out on a hill up near Waco. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the load got delayed 2 days. And the client? Not. Happy? Another day, it was Sarah from Dispatch. They mixed up the SoCal delivery, sent the wrong load to Riverside, clients threatening to pull out. I just stared at the screen. Part of me wanted to laugh, another part wanted to cry, but mostly I felt quiet. See, trucking isn't just hauling freight. It's a rhythm, a dance between people and machines and time. You don't just know the routes. You feel them. You know when to swap tires before the rubber tells you. You know when a driver's voice on the CB is masking fatigue. The new boss, this kid, Zane something, never understood that. MBA from some fancy school, probably never hauled a single crate of brake rotors in his life. To him, people were numbers. Margins, pie charts, and numbers can be replaced. But people? That's different. I didn't reach out to anyone, didn't badmouth the company, didn't post some long-winded rant online. I just watched. One morning, while topping off my old F-250, I saw one of our clients, well, former clients, pull into the station. Alex, from Summit Industrial Supplies. I'd run their account for years, handled their fragile shipments like they were eggshells, built trust, real handshake kind of stuff. He didn't see me at first, but when he did, his eyebrows shot up. "Dave?" I gave him a nod. "Hey, Alex." He walked over, clearly frustrated. "Man, what the hell happened? Your company's a mess. They sent me the wrong order again. No one answers my calls anymore." I just shrugged. "They let me go. Said I cost too much." Alex shook his head, almost laughing. "Idiots. You knew. Our spec's like the back of your hand. I told your boss that once. Something shifted then." His face changed. "You thinking of doing anything on your own?" he asked. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. That night, I pulled out an old binder I hadn't touched in years. Independent operations, routes and rate sheets. It was a side project I'd started a while back, just sketches really. Ideas for how to streamline small fleet logistics without cutting corners. I'd shelved it because I was too busy, too loyal. But now I had time. I scribbled notes in the margins, called up some old contacts in warehousing, checked out current. Fuel surcharges, maintenance vendors. I wasn't planning revenge. This wasn't spite, this was survival, purpose. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized the cracks in my old company weren't just growing, they were becoming sinkholes. Dote issued them a warning after a random roadside inspection turned up bald tires and a missing logbook. I read about it in a public compliance bulletin. They'd always had a clean record, not anymore. Then came the whispers about Everlast Tools, one of our big clients. They were threatening to cancel their $2 million contract after back-to-back delays. Those delays, routes I used to personally oversee. Jason called again. This time he sounded shaken. "Dave, they're drowning. Dispatch is a mess. Zane's. Cutting corners everywhere. We're running leaner than ever, but nothing's working. You should see the rookies he brought in. No clue how to back into a bay without a guide." I didn't say much. Just thanked him for the heads up. But inside, something steady was starting to build. A quiet fire. One afternoon, Maria walked into the garage where I'd set up a fold-out table covered in spreadsheets, route maps, and a whiteboard full of scribbled mileage costs. She leaned against the frame, arms crossed. "You look busy," I chuckled. "Just working on something, thinking about a dispatch outfit, maybe consulting, nothing big yet." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder. "You always did run that company better than the suits." I swallowed hard. She believed in me. Maybe it was time I did too. Then came the call that sealed it. It was Alex from Summit. Again. "Hey Dave, got a proposition. We're looking for reliability again. You ever think about handling our runs, even if it's just consulting? You've got our trust. That's more than I can say for your replacement." I took a long breath. "I'm interested," I said. "Let's talk." I didn't sleep that night, but not from anxiety. I was sketching, planning, running fuel cost estimates in my head, calling in a favor from an old mechanic buddy to price out a pre-owned reefer unit, thinking about hiring one or two folks I trusted from the old days. Jason might be up for it. Sarah, too. This wasn't just about starting over. It was about building something better, something honest, Something that valued the kind of work ethic that doesn't show up in a quarterly report, the kind of thing Zane and his spreadsheets would never understand. And I wasn't in a rush. I knew the roads. I knew the pain points. I knew the solutions. They fired me to save money, but they're about to learn what it costs to lose a man who actually gave a damn. They say when one door closes, another opens. I don't believe that. Not anymore. Doors don't open on their own. You have to get up, dust yourself off, and kick one down if you have to. That's what I did, the morning I filed the paperwork. For my LLC, I was still running on fumes. Half anger, half adrenaline. I called it Iron Route Logistics. Not flashy, just solid, like the work I've always done. I paid the registration fee with the last of my severance, printed out some business cards at the local FedEx, and walked out into the world like a man who had something left to prove, not to them, but to myself. I started small, consulting mostly, route optimization, dispatch setup, safety compliance. I knew what mattered, what companies overlooked. I offered things their bloated budgets never did, actual solutions. Then I made the calls, the ones that mattered. First was Bill Sutter, warehouse manager for Oak Ridge Medical. We used to joke that his facility ran smoother when I was on the road. I didn't talk revenge or backstory. I just told him I was offering streamlined freight planning, tailored for reliability. He didn't even hesitate. "I've been looking for someone who still gives a damn," he said. "Let's give you a shot." Then came Keller Steelworks. Then Horizon Farms Produce. One by one, the calls turned into contracts. It wasn't explosive, it was steady, strong, like tightening a ratchet strap one notch at a time, and word got around. I started getting texts from the old crew. Diego, one of the best route planners I ever worked with, messaged me late one night. "Heard you're starting something. If you got a seat, I'm in." Then Marie, compliance wizard, the one who kept our DOTI scores clean for 5 straight years. She was tired of babysitting undertrained dispatchers and fixing avoidable screw-ups. They weren't bitter, they were just done. I didn't hire out of pity or loyalty. I hired the ones who knew the road and respected it, the overlooked, the ones who stayed late because they cared, the ones who never got their names in the company newsletter but kept the gears turning. Within 3 months, Iron Route Logistics was running 6 regular client accounts. We weren't big, but we were sharp. We ran lean. We logged every inspection, double-checked our hours of service, and used real-time traffic analytics to shave miles without cutting corners. I built custom load plans that actually made sense. Drivers liked us. Clients trusted us. And I slept with a peace I hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, back at my old company, the cracks had turned into canyons. They lost Hathaway Electronics, a massive account, because someone screwed up the temperature settings on a truckload of sensitive components. That mistake cost them a 6-figure contract and their reputation with 3 other partners who got spooked. Their trucks were failing DOTI roadside inspections, bald tires, bad brake lines, logbook inconsistencies. The kind of stuff I used to catch with my eyes closed during pre-trips. The new boss, still pretending it was just growing pains. But the FMCSA doesn't buy excuses. I heard a formal audit was on the table. Might even lead to a temporary operating suspension. And through all of it, I kept my head down and my wheels turning. Then came the call I didn't expect. It was from the company's interim operations manager. Not the guy who fired me. He was on leave. Burnout, they said, more like blowback. "We're having trouble stabilizing," she said, voice tight. "Some of your former clients are asking about you. Is there any way you'd consider helping us restructure?" I let the silence hang. Then I said it, calm, clear, final. "You had your chance." She thanked me politely and hung up. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. Justice doesn't always wear a loud suit. Sometimes it just shows up quietly, like a clean logbook at inspection or a client who pays on time. My days were full now, negotiating rates, helping drivers plan legal HOS windows, updating ELD systems, running safety webinars for new hires. It was hard work, but it was mine, built from the ground up, not inherited, not gifted, earned. One afternoon, as I was heading to meet with Canyon Fresh Foods, a potential new account, my son looked up from the dinner table and said, "Dad, you're smiling more now." I paused. Was I? Yeah, I guess I was. I used to. Think loyalty meant sticking with something until your hands bled. Now I know better. Real loyalty is to your craft, your values, your people, not to a name on a paycheck that forgets you the second the ink dries. A few weeks later, I got a thank you card in the mail from Lisa Cheng, operations lead at Oak Ridge Medical. She'd been one of the first to trust Iron Root. Inside the card was a simple message. "We don't know how we did this without you. Thanks for showing us what professionalism really looks like." That one hit deep, not because I needed praise, but because it meant something real was taking root. My work had value again, not because of a title or a position, but because I was doing it the right way. I looked around my small office, just 2 desks and a coffee maker that barely worked, and felt something stronger than pride. Purpose. The kind that gets you up at 4:30 a.m. with a full tank. The company that let me go, they're still unraveling. I heard they brought in an outside audit team. One of their rigs jackknifed last month due to worn-out brake pads. Injured the driver. Rick, a good guy, should have never been behind the wheel of a truck that wasn't roadworthy. They'll blame the weather, the load, anything but the choices that led them there. But out here, on this new road I built with my own hands, we inspect every axle. We read every fine print in the FMCSA bulletins. We don't run hot just to shave hours. We don't gamble with people's lives. We don't forget the names behind the wheel. And as I sat down that evening, sketching out a plan for a small warehouse partnership to expand our operations, I realized something simple. They fired me to save money, but they're about to learn what it costs to lose a man who actually gave a damn. It started as a whisper, industry chatter passed over loading docks and dispatch radios. Did you hear about Titan Freight? 3 major contracts gone in a week. I didn't smile. Not outwardly, but deep inside, a calm settled over me, like pulling a loaded rig out of a jackknife and feeling the wheels line back up with the road. You don't cheer, just breathe steady, grip the wheel and keep rolling. The company that fired me was cracking like an overloaded trailer on a bad axle. Their biggest clients, ones I used to manage personally, had enough of the missed deadlines, the broken promises, the arrogance. They walked, quietly, professionally but permanently, no shouting, no lawsuits, just a clean break. And the logistics world noticed. Titan Freight's reputation didn't just slip, it nosedived. Their dispatchers were quitting mid-shift. Drivers were abandoning rigs on the lot, refusing to haul loads under sketchy safety protocols. DOT flagged them for violations, multiple ones. It was only a matter of time before someone called for an audit. Then came the final blow. The new boss, the one who thought he could replace experience with ego, was forced out. No fanfare. Just a silent exit through the back door. A few loyal. Lieutenants tried to plug the holes, but the hull was too far gone. You can't steer a ship once the wheels rusted off and the crew's halfway overboard. Meanwhile, on my end, we were shifting gears. My company, small, lean, no fluff, was humming like a rebuilt engine. I had just signed a multi-year logistics contract with a client Titan used to brag about. A 7-figure deal. Came in quietly through a handshake and a promise that we'd do things right. And we did. I wasn't just dispatching loads, I was solving problems, helping clients cut fuel costs, reroute freight around choke points, predict weather delays before they happened. Real logistics, not just paperwork and empty promises. I upgraded our tech, cloud-based tracking, driver apps, real-time metrics. No more guesswork. Clients knew where their cargo was down to the mile. And drivers, they knew they were valued. Hired smart. Not just resumes, but reputations. Folks I knew could get the job done. Old co-workers, former rivals, even one or two dispatchers who used to butt heads with me, but who always respected the work. They came not for revenge. They came for purpose. We weren't just building a company. We were building a standard. I even got a call from a national trade magazine. They wanted to feature us, highlight our growth, spotlight our practices. I sat for a photo in the yard behind two freshly detailed rigs bearing our logo. Not flashy, just clean, solid. The write-up called me an industry comeback story. I just called it doing the job right. One morning I was in the office early, going over a quarterly report, when my assistant knocked. "There's a call for you." He says his name is Darren. I froze for a second. Darren, the man who replaced me, the one who cut my legs out from under me to climb a rung higher. I picked up the line. "Hello?" A pause. "Hey, I know it's been a while. Listen, I'm not going to waste your time. Things have changed over here, fast. We're trying to rebuild, restructure. The board is exploring a partnership or maybe a buyout." He coughed. "Your name's come up. A lot." I let the silence hang. Then I said, "You fired the engine, Darren. Now the whole rig's rolling backward." "I get it," he said. Quickly. "I made mistakes. I'm just asking, can we talk? Over lunch, maybe?" I paused, let my eyes drift out the window to the yard, where one of my drivers was doing a pre-trip check. Sun bouncing off the hood, hands steady on the checklist. I spoke quietly. "I built this from scratch. No one handed it to me. No favors. Just grit. And the road we're on now? There's no room for detours or passengers I don't trust." Another pause. Then, "You had your chance." I hung up, never raised my voice, never had to. By that winter, Titan Freight filed for Chapter 11. Industry blogs covered the collapse like a slow-motion wreck. Clients pulled out. Investors ran. Their yard was listed for auction, trucks parked like tombstones in the snow. And I was still moving forward. We expanded into regional dispatch, then national. I started training programs for new drivers, offering safety bonuses, giving second chances to folks who'd been burned by bad companies. We didn't just grow, we matured. One night after a long day, I came home and found my daughter waiting up. She's 16 now, curious about the world, eyes sharp. "Dad," she said, "are you happy?" It caught me off guard. I looked around. The house was quiet, warm. My wife was reading in the next room. My boots were off. The dog curled up at my feet. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I am." She smiled. "It's cool what you built. Mom said you didn't even want revenge. You just wanted to do it your way." I laughed softly. "Revenge burns fast," I said. "Purpose burns long." She hugged me. That weekend, we held a company appreciation dinner. Nothing flashy, just good food, good people, and honest talk. I stood up at the end and looked around. At the faces, mechanics, dispatchers, office staff, drivers, even a few family members of clients who had stuck with us through hard miles. I raised a glass. "To the road ahead," I said, "and to the lessons behind us." There were smiles, a few cheers. Later that night, as I locked up the office and turned off the lights, I thought back to that day I was fired. The bitterness, the disbelief, the silence in my truck on the drive home, and I realized something. That wasn't the end. That was the ignition. They fired me thinking I was just another driver. Turns out I was the engine, and now I'm running on all cylinders.